What's going on, everybody? We're live Friday, January 15th. So actually, I see the first comment. The tardiness is actually my fault because I, in my mind, thought I sent Grant the stream link and I didn't. So if you're going to blame anybody, blame me. But I do he's sitting to my right on the screen, but I'm not going to try to point because I'm going to get it wrong. But Mr. Grant Cohn from Sports Illustrated. Grant, how are you today, buddy?
I'm batting 1,000, having a really good day. I feel like I got hired by the New York Jets last night. I feel like one of my own has just made it in the world.
That's why I'm happy that we're doing this today, because I know how much of a fan you are of Saleh. So, this is a great day for you. So, I guess that's where we should start, right? We found out last night that the deal's done. Robert Saleh is the new coach of the New York Jets, 20 minutes away from where I live here in Jersey. I get to keep my eye on Robert Saleh and McDaniel and track the progress of this team. So, talk to me. How happy are you right now, Grant? And what do you have to say as far as the move and what the Jets have to look forward to as their coach?
Well, I'm very proud of Robert Saleh. You remember like 2 years ago, Niner fans hated that guy. Like coming off the 2018 season, I think most fans wanted him gone and most media people were kind of indifferent and thinking maybe he needed to go. And since then, like what he's done with his career and his life is remarkable. In just 2 years, it's inspirational. So good for him. Good for the Jets. That's an organization that we think of making like terrible decisions year after year. This seems like a really smart decision. It seems like they made a football decision. Like they're not necessarily going to win the press conference by bringing in the defensive coordinator from Santa Clara, but it's the right move. They must have did their research. They made a really good decision. It's pretty cool. I want to ask you, you're from Jersey. You know what the media is like out there, what fans are like out there. Do you think Robert Saleh is built for it? Do you think he can do this? Because it's hard.
Yeah, I think he is. Just in comparison to what was here before, Adam Gase was aloof, not smart. When things came out of his mouth, you looked and you said, "What in God's name are you talking about, dude?" Like, in no way are you like saying, "Well, that was something that was inspirational," right? Gase. If you compare Gase to Saleh, it's literally like driving a broke down Toyota Camry and then getting like a Ferrari. Like that's literally the difference. So I think everybody here is excited, and I get a lot of questions from the Jets fans around here. What do you think? I'm like, congrats. And so when I tell you congrats, I'm telling you that I approve of the hire and you're going to see instant results. Maybe not in the win total, but you will see instant results with the way that this team competes and the way that they carry themselves.
Here's my question for you. It seems like he's kind of taking over a 49ers type situation. It's a really young team. There's a lot of cap space and they have a top pick. It's a lot like what Kyle Shanahan inherited, maybe with a little bit more in terms of what's on the roster. But Shanahan was afforded basically 3 years to build up his team. And when he lost year one and lost year two, everyone except me basically was like, hey, take your time, dude. Take your time, baby. It's the Bay Area. No one's putting pressure on you. I don't know if New York's like that.
That's true.
It's probably a 3-year project, but what if he goes 5-11 year one? Will they want to run him out of town? It'll be interesting.
Right. So, you guys, whoever's in the chat, right, you guys can let me know, and Grant as well. I guess I'm more familiar with the New York media because I live here than I am the Bay Area media. I don't really interact with many beat writers. It's just like you and a few others that I get to interact with. So I agree with you on that point. Like the back pages of the New York Post and the Daily News put pressure on, and that's the problem. This is the Jets' problem. The Jets have continuously run their organization through what the fans want or what the fans are yelling for, right? Yeah. And what's the old saying? Listen to the fans and find yourself sitting next to them. So, it's a great point that you bring up because the Daily News, the Post, the talk radio, it's nonstop with the Jets. Like they continue to kill them anytime that they make a bad decision. I feel like he's built to do it, but you're absolutely right that this media will put pressure on them to win. If it gets to year 3 and they're at a point where, like you said, 6-10, 7-9, yeah, the pressure will start to turn up a little bit. But that's why I think Saleh wanted an extra year because he wanted that sort of job security that Kyle Shanahan was afforded when he was first brought.
I think they'll be very enthusiastic about him. He's a great story. He speaks well. His brother was in one of the towers and survived. He's a great New York story. If he loses week 1, they'll hate him. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is. So what I would have to say to Saleh is you got to develop some serious thick skin because they're not gonna all like you the way that all the media in the Bay Area like you. It's just they're ruthless from what I understand. Right. Yeah.
And I mean, if you look at what the Jets players have thought about this, Quentin Williams has been quite vocal on social media about what he wants from him. So, I've never seen support like that from players with Adam Gase. So, off the bat, he's already.
Peyton Manning seems to have Adam Gase's back, but other than that.
Well, and you know what's funny about it is that Adam Gase brought Joe Douglas in as a friend move, and then he's the one who goes, and then so it's crazy, right? So remember, they ran through a whole draft with the general manager, and then they booted him after the draft and free agency. And then they bring in a new GM, which is Gase's buddy, Joe Douglas. Now Joe Douglas stays, and now Gase goes. It's just funny to me the way the sequencing of the events. I bring you in, and then I'm the one who goes, and you get the job security of staying.
Yeah, it's very funny. Douglas has a good reputation. He has a ring, right?
Yes, he does, with the Eagles.
He drafted Wentz. He was one of the people who drafted Wentz.
I think so.
He won a ring. So he's interesting. It's a different situation than Kyle. Kyle basically brought in a figurehead so he could make his own decisions and let John Lynch explain it. That's not what Saleh's walking into. He's walking into a partnership with a guy who has his own ideas, who has a good reputation. So maybe that'll help.
So Grant, this comment right here will lead me into the next point, right? So has Saleh reached out to you to bring you over as quality control coach? Because you can take the interviews now. There is no season. There's no way that they can block you from doing that. But it's really about, are you going over as quality control? And then we can talk about who he actually took over with him.
I haven't. I played the fifth on that one. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that. So we'll see.
All right. Well, what we do know, in all seriousness, is that McDaniel went over with it's McDaniel that went over as his OC, right? Passing game coordinator.
No, it's LaFleur. It's
LaFleur. I apologize. LaFleur.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
LaFleur, passing game coordinator. What do you think?
I don't know that much about Mike LaFleur. All I know is the Niners passing game isn't as good as its running game, and it's not as good as its play action game. I always kind of broke it down as like McDaniel run game, Shanahan play action, LaFleur drop back, and I've never really thought much of the Niners drop back game. Maybe that's a reflection of the quarterback. Maybe if he had Aaron Rodgers, he'd be all of his patterns and stuff would work. So I don't really know much about LaFleur. I know that I love Mike McDaniel's play designs as a run game coordinator, but none of these guys, neither one has called plays before.
Right.
So it's not just about their design. It's about their decision-making and their poise in pressure situations in games. It's going to be very interesting, but I think what the vision is to do a lot, basically what Stefanski did in Cleveland. You take a team with a young quarterback who is in basically a ridiculous scheme and just put him under center, give him a run game, give him a play action game and see what happens. It worked for Baker. It could work for Sam Darnold. We'll see. Right. They don't have weapons. They got to get some weapons.
Right. That's the thing, right? So as far as weapons go for them, Jamison Crowder, Brashard Perriman, Denzel Mims is a young guy. That's a guy that I'd like to see, but he was injured most of the year. That's good.
Yeah.
But, for the Sam Darnold to San Francisco crowd, you want to see Sam Darnold in the Kyle Shanahan offense. You're about to see it this year, most likely. So we'll see. Like for you guys that were beating the table about Darnold, you're about to be proven right or wrong. I wouldn't say that, right? Because like you said, he's never play called, right? And that's not Shanahan, right? So I don't know if that's the same thing just because it's the same system without the coach, right? Like I don't know if that's...
He's going to try to recreate what Shanahan does, but he ain't Shanahan. He's not Shanahan.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. So he'll be in a Shanahan-style offense, which is all the rage, and I suspect that there'll be 7 or 8 other teams that you'll see run everything that that Shanahan runs. So you're going to see it across the league. So anybody who was interested to see what Darnold's going to do with Shanahan-type offense, you're going to see it this year. After Adam Schefter said last night that he suspects, obviously things are fluid. January 14th, he says he suspects that Sam Darnold's going to be there and that they will be they're entertaining trades for the number 2 pick. But
that's what I would do.
14th,
and that's what I would do, actually. What would you do if you were running the Jet, if you were Saleh?
See, that's the thing, right? So you getting Justin Fields or something like that, I'm not certain that you want to put him in a position to start right away. Yeah, with that roster, that you could wind up stunning his growth more than anything, With Darnold, he's 23 years old. Like, do people understand that? Like, he's that young, right? Yeah. In an Adam Gase offense, right? Yes, boneheaded coach, right. And that's the other thing, right? So the Jets have the second most cap space in the league right now, okay? And I suspect that you're going to see 49ers float their way over there. They're literally going to run exactly what the 49ers ran on offense and defense. So, use Check Bourne. I think the one that really stands out, and it's because of where he's from, K'Wan Williams is from Paterson, New Jersey. He can go back home, and he'll be 10 minutes from the stadium.
Jordan Reed's from
10 minutes.
Connecticut.
Yeah. So there's a lot of guys that'll wind up going their way over there. The guy that I would see probably most likely is probably K1 because of the location.
No, and plus Saleh loves him. Loves him. Yeah.
Right. So what I would think is that, if I'm taking over this team, let's give Darnold a shot. Next year, if Darnold plays bad, you're going to get another high pick next year. And like you said, conventional wisdom would tell you that just because Robert Saleh is not successful in the first year doesn't mean that he won't be successful down the line. So you have to give the guy a shot anyway.
That's a good point. You don't necessarily even have to draft a quarterback in round 1 at any point if you're the Jets this year, because if things don't work out, you'll be in position to get one next year. And you might get a better one next year. I don't even know who the quarterbacks are coming out this year, but the way I look at it is basically in this draft, there is one surefire starting quarterback. It is Trevor Lawrence. After that, there's probably a second starting quarterback in the bunch, but your guess is as good as mine as to who it is.
Absolutely. It just depends on where you fall, right? And it might not even be one of the first round guys. Would anybody be surprised if Trevor Lawrence was the one, and then all of a sudden, few years down the line, we're like, man, how did everybody pass on Mac Jones?
Right. Or Desmond Ridder. Or he's not coming out. Or Kevin Monder, whoever. Someone that was not talked up at all during this process. So it's kind of scary. You could just wait and get someone next year who, I don't know who the guys are next year. So I don't know if that's a better deal. I don't know.
Right. So
Desmond Ridder's coming out next year.
Desmond is next year. I like that he went back, actually. That's good to better yourself and raise your stock, honestly. I like that idea.
Yeah, if you're a junior coming out, you should be a first-round pick. Otherwise, go back to school.
Go back to school, absolutely, 100%. Yeah. So dominoes were falling. Saleh goes, takes the coach, and now D'Amico is the defensive coordinator for the 49ers.
Really interesting decision.
How do you view that? I was going to say, talk me through it.
I don't know if it's the right decision or the wrong decision, and I feel like the Niners had a dilemma. It's like, go with the guy that's in your building that you've groomed, who won't change your defense. And why would you want to change the defense? It works. But he's 36 and he's a little green. Or you could go for a guy like Raheem Morris, who's experienced, who's been a head coach, who's coached on both sides of the ball, but would not run the same thing that Robert Saleh ran, would have his own ideas, would change things a little bit. So it's like, do you want continuity with an inexperienced guy? Because you might take a step back before you take a step forward. Or do you want experience in something new? That way you might take a step back too, while all these players who were good at one thing learn something else. So there may not be a right answer here. I understand why the Niners went with continuity. And maybe this guy really is the truth. If Robert Saleh says he's great, and Richard Sherman says he's great, and Kyle Shanahan says he's great, then I trust they made the right move. Because they know Raheem Morris too, and they have respect for him as well. They could have had him. I think the Niners actually make very good decisions with coaches most of the time, better than their personnel decisions. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm glad that you brought up the Raheem Morris thing, because I think it was swept under the rug. And this was pointed out to me by Vish, that's who they really were eyeing, right, for DC. And it didn't work out. And,
back in 2017.
Yeah, right. Yes. In 2017. So people forget that he was at the top of the list there for them. So, and you're absolutely right about, Shanahan believes in him. The guys like him. I like the idea that he's younger, because then he can relate to players more, at his age, right? And the linebackers have taken a step up every year, basically, under his watch, too. So, yes, he's a little green, but I kind of lean towards the continuity idea. You don't want to change, I saw the Wade Phillips thing is out there, and I like that idea. But then if he's running 3-4, are we going to have Bosa standing? Or are we going to have Bosa in coverage? It doesn't fit for me in my mind.
I agree. No, I think it's the right call. D'Amico Ryan, I still feel like you got to have questions about his ability to game plan and call plays. Same questions you have with Mike LaFleur in New York. We'll find out. It'd be a shame if this defense, if he just wasn't ready, and you hired a guy who is better as a position coach. But again, Richard Sherman and Robert Saleh have made very impassioned pleas that this guy is not just going to be a coordinator, but a head coach. So, all right, let's see it.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe he'll be the next Brable or the next Saleh.
Right. And so I'm glad that you said the next Saleh, right? Because out of the gate, people were like, Saleh doesn't know what he's doing. But guess what? Every year, all you can ask from a player and a coach is that every year they improve and they continue to improve. And Saleh did every single year. And I felt this year was his finest year. I've said it plenty of times. Not that it's easy to call defenses, but when Nick Bosa is destroying game plans, right, and you can just play whatever on the back end because the quarterback has no time. Now, the way that he was, maneuvering, he subtly turned this team from straight cover 3 to man, a lot of quarters,
right.
a lot of man that you saw across the board, straight out of training camp, and he generated pressure the best way he could. And and this is going to
manufactured pressure.
Right.
Well, see, the thing was, a lot of people said that he just lived off Nick Bosa in 2019. That wasn't necessarily true. If you watch their third down pressure packages, it was actually all about getting K'Wan Williams free and Quan Alexander. He's very egalitarian in who he features. It's not just about Buckner and Bosa. It really wasn't. So he was doing it, but this year he was put to the test because he had to manufacture pressure. There was no, he couldn't just hang back and be like, hey, you four, go get him. Like, nah. And he did it. So it's very impressive.
So with all those injuries, the 49ers still end up as a top 5 defense. And I mean, that's just a testament to the coaching, getting guys to play. And then, those play calls, like I see people nitpicking play calls. You can do that all you want, but I don't like that idea because it doesn't show you what led up to those play calls and things like that. Like just picking a play out of nowhere and saying, oh, look what Saleh ran. No, you got to kind of give context to everything else that happened before that. So, and as long as DeMeco improves, we should see next year a healthy Nick Bosa, who will be there. So that'll help any sort of shortcoming on play calls or anything like that for him while he comes along. So
no doubt. It's not like he's going to have to do all the crazy stuff that Saleh did this year. It's like, hey, call cover 3, cover 4, whatever zone you want, and rush 4. It should work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's a good segue into the next topic. So a big topic on 49ers Twitter. So let me start with Ross Tucker goes on the radio and says that, he's asked about Deshaun Watson and they ask him, what's the package? And he says, I think Bosa is even touchable here, right? Okay, full stop right there. What he was saying was something that is just completely hypothetical, but we all know 49ers Twitter, so they took it and they ran with it and we argued for days about it. It's
great content. Thank you, Ross Tucker, by the way.
Yeah. He actually helped, push things along because now we started arguing about something different. But I'll pose the question to you.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the untouchable 49ers, if there are any untouchable 49ers?
I think every player has his price, personally. I think Patrick Mahomes has his price. So I don't think there are any untouchable 49ers. Now, Fred Warner would be very expensive. Nick Bosa would be very expensive because if you traded Nick Bosa, it would crush the morale of the team. Like everyone would be like, oh my God, what did you do? Like, is the general manager incompetent? Did John Lynch lose his mind? What are we doing? It would be very hard to sell it. So he would have to be in a package for Patrick Mahomes or maybe Deshaun Watson. You'd have to get something back that the players and the fans are like, okay, fine, I get it. And with Nick Bosa, I think that's basically 5 players in the league that you'd be cool trading him for. About 5, maybe less than 5.
Yeah.
Fred Warner too. So yeah, I mean, they're not untouchable, but Fred Warner's worth a couple ones. Maybe not a couple ones. If Buckner was worth 1, maybe he's only worth 1. But Bosa, these guys are very, very valuable. Yeah, I mean, there's a price there. There's a price there. And if the Niners really want to get a quarterback like Deshaun Watson that badly, I actually think it's kind of interesting to have a mixture of players and picks and not just, your first round picks for the next 5 years. Like, I think that really is going to hurt you, is going to prevent you from building around Deshaun Watson.
Right. And, Jamal Adams, Vish is pointing it out right here. Jamal Adams went for a bunch of ones, so, I mean, I think that's more team specific. Like Seattle was just dumb for that, like flat out dumb, like that's
hold on. What was Ramsey? What did he go for? 2 1s?
2 1s too. But Jalen Ramsey is the best lockdown corner in the league this year. Easily, hands down.
Right.
Stephon Gilmore was the defensive player of the year last year, but he got hurt. Jalen Ramsey under Brandon Staley was incredible this year. They had the top ranked defense.
I still can't believe that the Niners couldn't get more than 1-1 for DeForest Buckner. Man, to me, they didn't get enough. But that's neither here nor there. That is so far in the past. Let's look forward.
So look, let me start what I'm about to say by saying this. Nobody is trading Nick Bosa. That has never been an indication. This is just a talking point at this point. But for everybody losing their mind on the internet, chill.
Stop losing your mind on the internet. It's the internet. Go outside and lose your mind.
Go outside and yell at someone.
Yeah, seriously.
But look, I think I kind of agree with your sentiment. Everybody has a price.
Yeah.
If somebody comes to you, if a stupid team comes to you and they say, we want to give you 6 firsts for George Kittle. I love you,
George.
Kittle.
Thank you.
Thank
Nothing
you, George.
personal. You're just that great. We got to do it, dude. You're just that great,
Right.
man. Yeah.
2 or 3 firsts or 2 or 3 firsts and a second for Kittle. How can you not even take a look at that? What would make you say slam the door on this? We're not doing that, right? I'm not telling you to trade any Kittle, Warner, Bosa, none of them. But don't tell me that he's untouchable. That I don't think that that's untouchable. Honestly, that's not.
And who would you rather have, Deshaun Watson or Nick Bosa? Honestly.
That's a good question. So that's a good question. We could use that as a talking point. So look, I've been very, very much in front of my stance of franchise quarterback lifts things up that aren't there, right? Even defense, right? Because they can score points, and he's a guy that can score points when you're down, right? When the defense, this is the thing, right? When the defense slipped a little, do you trust any of the quarterbacks in this room right now to win a shootout at this point? Probably not. Right.
Absolutely not. No.
So now you're talking about, Bosa left, but it was a top 5 defense without him. And now you add a franchise quarterback. Come on, man.
To me, Bosa's excellent, but the defense was quite good without him. And This offense is struggling without a top flight quarterback. So to me, I don't even think it's actually a question. I would rather have Deshaun Watson than Nick Bosa. And that's no knock on Bosa. It's just one's a quarterback and one isn't.
Right.
Sorry.
So can you tell me what you think I think we kind of talked about it with LaFleur, but tell me your thoughts on, what you see with this passing game now that LaFleur is gone. Is this does it take a step back? I don't know how it takes a step back because I'm not certain it can get any worse.
I think the passing game is largely dependent on who the quarterback is. I don't know who, but it's a good question. Like, who's going to be now the passing game coordinator? Is it going to be McDaniel? Is he now in charge of everything? It might be McDaniel. Or they could re-sign Rich Scangarello. What does that do for you? Wes Welker could be promoted, but I don't know if he's got that kind of skill set. I don't really know. What's interesting to me about McDaniel is taking that promotion. Is it even a promotion, Mike? Jason? Is he going to be calling plays? What? Nope. So you get basically got a raise and a new title.
Yeah.
That's great. I like that. I would take a raise and a new title, but it seems to me that if Mike McDaniel were as in as maybe Niner fans think, that he would have taken an OC job somewhere else because he would be able to call plays and actually be an OC like Miami. I don't think he was in the running for Miami. I don't think he was going to get that job, and I think that's why he's settling for basically it's a half step up. Still a step, but it's a half step up, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. I like this question from Mav. So if you're the LA Rams, would you trade Donald and Ramsey and a 1 for Watson? But what do you do with Goff? I don't know. That one's hard.
Personally, I would not trade it all for Watson because I think that defense would be disgusting without those.
Oh, okay. So it's not. Oh, so Mav clarified. It's not Donald and Ramsey. It's Donald or Ramsey and a 1 for Watson.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Especially considering how close the Rams are. I'm not trading Donald. I'll trade Ramsey.
Yeah.
There's something about the Donald thing. I can't get rid of a guy who frees up Leonard Floyd on the edge and is as dominant as him. So I understand.
Everyone has their price. Everyone has their price. It would be negotiable.
Yeah.
I'm sure Donald is worth more than Ramsey. So I have to see what it would say. Yeah.
And I literally just told you that Jalen Ramsey was the best cover corner in this league, and I'm still, not messing around with that.
Honestly, if you could put Deshaun Watson behind that run game, I'm not really worried about the defense. Not really worried about it.
And McVay as a play caller, come on, with those guys,
right,
it's gonna be insane. So I got a question here from Vince, Jersey. How big is Adam Peters staying with the Niners? So I think that there's a narrative out there right now. If you can help me dispel this, Grant. There's a narrative out there right now about all the good picks that the 49ers have made are Adam Peters, and all the bad ones were made were John Lynch.
Yeah, Eastbay Chris is hammering that point, and he's really right about that. Why does this guy have this sterling reputation? How come all the good things that the Niners do go to him, and all the bad things go to Lynch? That is true. But look, they need as much continuity as possible. That'd just be another guy they're losing. So I don't know how good Adam Peters is, but he must be decent for him to get these looks at other places. For them to keep him it couldn't hurt. It's not a bad thing. It's just one fewer person they got to replace. It doesn't mean that they're going to get their draft pick right in the first round this year, but I mean, it could be a lot worse. It could be worse. If you don't have him, then who's taking his place?
Exactly.
Me?
And credit this coaching staff and credit all, for having such a deep coaching staff where it's like, okay, we lost a guy, we got a guy ready to play. So it's like the Saleh news comes out, D'Amico's already promoted. So that was already done. Like in my mind, they're just waiting for the domino to fall. And
I don't know who would be the guy to replace Peters if he left. Who would be the next guy up?
I don't know. And so he was the VP of player personnel, right? So, but here's the question though. And I'm trying to find the answer as I ask more people. How involved is Peters on all of these draft picks, right? And I think that he gets the credit for Warner and Kittle, or at least that's the narrative around him. So people are like, oh man, one guy took Solomon Thomas with his first pick. One guy identifies Warner and Kittle in the middle of the rounds, and they're two of the untouchable 49ers.
It's just unknowable. We don't know. They're not going to take credit and say who had the good picks and who had the bad picks. But I will say that the fact that he was interviewed in Carolina and didn't get the job, all I'm saying is if I were interviewing him, I would have been like, look, some very interesting things going on in San Francisco, but I got to ask you, what was your involvement in Solomon Thomas? What was your involvement in trading DeForest Buckner? I mean, you have like 10 or 11 or more, and he'd have to be honest. And at the end of that interview, you'd have to say, maybe that's why he didn't get the job. I don't know.
He should lie. He should say, you know what? I pushed up for Ayuk. I was pushed back on the Pettis trade up. Just say.
What would Shaggy have said?
It wasn't me.
It works.
I mean, it's just I just want to find it out because like when you see on Twitter, Peters has all of these hits and no misses. None. I don't know how true that is. I don't.
My favorite tweet is when people are like, it looks like the Niners are going to get Adam Peters back. This is huge for the franchise. It's like, it might be. I don't know. I like it.
That's my thing too. Yeah. People go, that's huge. Well, why is it huge? Tell me why it's the.
I don't know. Right. It could be.
My guy Vish is in here. So, given what Diggs and Adams got traded for, did we get fleeced in Buckner compensation?
That's what I was just saying. I think so. At the time, I was like, wow, the 13th pick for the guy who went 7th and only got better. Really? That's it? And people are like, oh, well, that's basically what the Raiders got for Khalil Mack and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I don't think so. I don't know. It seemed to me like the Niners traded low.
Yeah. And do not use the Raiders as any example as far as player personnel and moves in your life to me about Khalil Mack. They blew that. Completely blew it.
I mean, Gruden basically fired himself as an executive after that year and brought in May. He's like, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. And
you know what's funny? And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the Deshaun Watson. They get all these picks from Chicago. How many of those have hit?
Good question. I'd love to know. I'd love to know.
I mean, I'm sure if we look, we'll say, all right, there's one, there's another. Other than that, I would say off the top of my head, they drafted a bunch of guys that are either one, not starters, or two, not even on their roster anymore.
Well, their defense stinks, and that's why they had to fire their defensive coordinator, like Cleveland Ferrell, Max Crosby. That's the best you can do. Okay. Yeah. They'd be better off with Khalil Mack. Call me crazy.
Wait. So remember, Max Crosby is better than Nick Bosa, too.
It's true. He has more career sacks.
Good God. Let me take this.
More X's in his first name. Any guy who has 2 X's in his first name,
you cannot trust him. How can you? I mean, as you get older too, when you find out that your parents did that to you, don't you have an honest conversation with them? Like, Mom, Dad, what happened?
What did you have in mind for me? What am I supposed to be, a stunt double? What is this?
So look, Matt,
what are my options?
Love trading for Mac, and then drafting a running back with the pick.
Oh, that's what they did.
So Josh Jacobs is good.
Yeah, but I mean, you just spent the first round pick on a running back. You played yourself.
Congratulations. Don't pay running backs.
Like the Niners have the 12th pick. Should they take Najee Harris? Hell of a player. Hell no. And not because he's not good. It's because he's a running back. They get hurt. You can find good ones after the draft. No, don't do that.
No, don't do that.
No, don't do that.
And, Vish makes a good point, too, is that, Mac had a down year this year, so he hasn't even performed to his contract either. So on both sides, the Bears make a move for one of the premier rushers. It doesn't work out. They don't win any playoff games while he's there, and none of those picks really hit for the Raiders. I still don't like the Josh Jacobs pick. I really don't, honestly.
I want to look up his contract real quick and see how expensive.
Josh Jacobs.
Oh my God!
Damon Arnett. Brian Edwards didn't play this year. Damon Arnett was at the top of the missed tackles list this year. I don't even know who Blesson Austin is, and Josh Jacobs good. But
you know what? I gotta say that the Raiders might have a point because I'm all about Moneyball. Let me tell you what Khalil Mack's salary is, dude. It's just, I had no idea, man. In 2020, he took up, dude, he was Jimmy Garoppolo, man. He got 26.6 in 2020. You can't do that, dude. You can't give one defensive player 12% of your cap. You can't do that.
Look at this. One of those picks that you got with Mac, this player is not even on their roster anymore. That is malpractice.
Dude, next year, he's going to count 14.6% against their cap, dude. That's ridiculous. He needs to throw like 25 touchdown passes to make that work next year. I don't know how he's going to do it. He's going to have to throw a nice spiral to justify. I honestly kind of understand where Gruden's coming from with that. It's like, dude, I can't pay a pass rusher quarterback money. True. Just don't spend the pick on a running back. Dude, you had it. You're so close.
Right.
So close.
Right. See, and it just, it doesn't make sense, right? Like you said, you find, not everybody's the 49ers, though. Not everybody can hit on, a guy that was, well, let's dispel some notions. Raheem Mostert wasn't somebody that Kyle Shanahan picked. He was on his roster. Chip Kelly had him. Okay. That's one thing.
Right.
Jeff Wilson is somebody that he found, off the, Breida is somebody he found. Hasty's someone he found.
I like Hasty.
Yeah.
Ahmed.
So yes, Savon Ahmed, right? So here's my thing. This is what makes the Coleman signing and the McKinnon signing more baffling, right? You give the guaranteed money to Coleman when you've already proven that you can find, an undrafted free agent with speed and make it work with your system. And then McKinnon, who you believed at that time when he signed him that would be your workhorse back, that one didn't work. Those two signings were just bad.
It's like when you've proven that you can get quality starting running backs after the draft every year, what in the world are you doing giving big money to free agents? Why? You know what I'm saying?
Malpractice,
doesn't
man.
make sense.
So,
yeah.
Alex has a question for us. What do you guys think of Mike McDaniel as OC, and what does that mean for Kyle's role as head coach going forward? I think we kind of talked about it. He's not going to be calling plays. I think it's more, look, I'm on the side of continuity for sure, right? Like, this is a team that next year cannot see a slip, depending on the quarterback, right, which is obviously fluid, cannot see a slip in the run game at all. The run game needs to be as dominant as it ever was, keeping Bobby Turner, making sure that all those pieces are in place. You can still continue to run the ball the way that you wanted to, because if the quarterback isn't someone like whoever, Watson, Stafford, anybody who can really toss that thing down the field, the run game has to stay solid for, whoever the quarterback is, if it's Jimmy, if it's, someone else. So that's the thing. And I like the idea of continuity because, one, players don't have to learn a new system. I'm always weary of that, about learning, new schemes and things like that. They can kind of just fall right back into their routines with minor changes depending on the coach. And this team really has Super Bowl aspirations again next year, right? You bring this roster back, and depending on who the quarterback is, you still feel like you have one of the top to bottom best rosters depending on who's missing, right, and who leaves. So that's the thing. You need the continuity to promote the winning culture and continue moving in the correct direction.
Right. And that's why they promoted him, to keep him. They didn't I don't think that they really promoted him. It was like, look, dude, we don't want you to go to Miami. So why don't we just give you a new title and a raise? Is that cool? Like, are you willing to stay? Because they can't lose. Think about this. If they had lost McDaniel and LaFleur, then Kyle Shanahan really would have had to be the offensive coordinator. He would have had to do all the film breakdown and legwork on Sunday and Monday that those two guys do. I mean, he has enough trouble being a head coach. He needs to focus on that, and he needs to delegate more. That's what he needs to do. And he trusts those two guys. To lose both of them would have been bad. To keep one of them is good. But what I think fans need to realize is it's not necessarily that McDaniel's going to do more. I still think it's going to be Shanahan who has to do more. Unless he 100% trusts McDaniel, he may have to come back and do some game planning with him early on until McDaniel shows he's got it on his own. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. This is a good point too. Miami hasn't picked their OC yet. He could still, be that as well. So this is all fluid, right? On January 15th, we're just talking about what it is at this point, and this is what it looks like. So it's,
is the story that he's been offered the OC or that he's accepted?
That I'm not certain of. If somebody in the comments could let us know. I know that he was mentioned as far as the OC goes for Miami, right? Chan Gailey was over there last year, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Chan Gailey was there. I don't think he's back. I'm not certain if it's a contract thing or they're just giving him the boot and just trying to move on. I'm not certain about that. I'm not going to try and act like I am.
Is this the Niners offering a job through the media, or is this see? I don't know. They haven't announced it yet, so we'll see. It's not official.
Right. That's not a bad way to look at it. So let's see. Jose has a question.
They plan to promote his title to OC and promote D'Amico. That's a very interesting. It almost seems like they're giving a little pressure on him. Well, let's see.
Right. Yeah. Okay, Javi's in here. Pep Hamilton most likely is the Miami OC. So, I mean, he called the Saleh to the Jets stuff earlier. Hey, that's not our business. That's Miami's fault.
Pep was really bad in Indy. But then again, he had no offensive line. That was kind of a Ryan Pace. Was it Ryan Pace? Who was the guy? No, it's not Ryan Pace. I forget.
No.
Who was the guy who was terrible and got Andrew Luck killed? Anyway.
Yeah. But Jose has a question. Do you guys see this new staff and player personnel reaching a Super Bowl or an NFC championship by the time Kyle's contract's up? He better. They better.
It's all going to depend on the quarterback, man. It's not about what guy they get to replace me. It's all about the quarterback. And I've been thinking about it a lot. I don't know if you want to talk about this, and maybe it's not the right guy, but I've been thinking. I was going on a run last night, and I feel like, is it Trask? Is it Fields? I just don't feel like Kyle Shanahan is the ideal coach to develop a young quarterback. There's not a lot of evidence there, but he didn't develop Kirk Cousins. McVay did. He scouted him and picked him. He didn't develop him. He didn't develop Beathard. He didn't develop Jimmy G. He didn't develop RG3. He just hasn't done that. And, his dad never really developed quarterbacks either. He had Cutler. To me, what the Shanahans do is they're the ideal coach for a veteran quarterback. That veteran guy who's really good and developed. Matt Ryan, John Elway. But it's just kind of been like asked to do too much for a mediocre team. Like, be the whole team. Drop back 50 times a game. Do everything. What the Shanahans do is like, no, we're not going to do. We're going to give you a running game. We're going to give you play action. Your job is going to be easier. We're not going to develop you, but we're going to make your job much easier than it's ever been. And it works for these guys. So if you could get him a guy like Matt Ryan, whoever it is, Ben Roethlisberger 3 years ago, Phillip Rivers 3 years ago, I think that works. And, you could get a 40-year-old quarterback. Quarterbacks are playing longer than ever. Pay him $15 million instead of $30. And it seems to me that could be what Shanahan ends up doing, although who knows if he'll go that route. The thing about Matthew Stafford is he's really freaking expensive. I'm saying a guy like Phillip Rivers is cheap. I don't know if he'd want to play behind Mike McMuffin, but you could get a future Hall of Famer who's been in the Pro Bowl, 39, say, look, we'll give you $15 million. Do you want to win a Super Bowl? I think a lot of guys say, yeah, I'd rather take $15 million than retire. Let's make this happen. And I think Shanahan could, if you give Phillip Rivers this run game, I think he would have won. I think he would have won that Super Bowl. He can't be too expensive. You can't be paying him $20 million, but at 15, that's the way I think Shanahan gets his ring, with a vet. I don't know if he's going to develop Justin Fields. I don't know.
So, Justin Fields, so that's interesting, right? Because, Schefter goes on last night on ESPN and says they'll entertain offers for the two. You don't know how realistic that is. That's just putting things out there because maybe someone is crazy enough to send you a bevy of picks,
no doubt,
and a player or something like that. You always want to put that out there. That's why, you can't close the door on these discussions because there's always some moron that walks up to you and says, "We'll give you four firsts across these next four to move up." Cool, I'll take those.
Also, they may want to trade down a couple picks. Like if they don't want to take a quarterback, do you want to take that Oregon tackle number 2, or do you want to trade down to number 4? Maybe you do that. Something like that.
I want to play a game with you real quick.
Let's play.
Let's play a game called In or Out.
Okay.
So on January 15th, right now, 2:42 Eastern, I'm going to give you some names that are free agents.
Okay.
You tell me you think they're in or they're out, and then just give me a small explanation. I'm going to start easy. Richard Sherman.
Out. And I think he's going to go to the Jets. He's one of 4 people that Saleh's following on Twitter. I think he's going to look at Sherman as being like his ambassador to the locker room. Even if Sherman isn't great, Sherman is going to tell all the players what to do and tell all the players that Robert Saleh is the man to listen to. I think he's going to be on that team.
Yeah, I think that he's out as well too. But it would not shock me if next year all of a sudden we're back here during the season talking about, wow, Richard Sherman's playing really well, because I really truly believe he was injured last year. And he, the reason that he continues to gut it out is because he's a football player and he can't play. He can't not play football. And and the smarts and leadership is all there, right? Like a lot
as opposed to
you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So football players play football, guys. Read into that however you want, right?
Right.
George Kittle's killing himself to play in these last few games. Richard Sherman on one leg, Probably shouldn't have been out there, but he's a football player. And football players play football. Take that for whatever it's worth. So I agree with that. They're going to run the same scheme, basically. I'm not certain if they're going to run. Do you have any insight on whether they're going to run wide 9 or if they're just going to be strictly cover 3? Or
I have no idea. And I think I'm sure Robert Saleh has some ideas because you have to pitch those ideas in the interviews. I don't know. We'll find out soon enough. I'm sure he'll have his introductory press conference tomorrow.
Yeah. And then, when he talked about, his contract, he talked about his contract and his future with the team openly in press conferences. And I believe him saying, yes, I understand that they have money problems here. We kind of understand it's a business. It's also a way of propping up his own value. Like, I'm not leaving because I'm washed. I'm leaving because I don't fit and I want to get it back. Right.
So I think he fits in New York. He wouldn't be too expensive. And again, his leadership, it's a very young team. It's a very young team, and I think he would have a positive effect on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Jason Verrett, in or out?
Out. Really? Out. I don't think they can afford. If they could cut Jimmy Garoppolo, they could keep him. But I don't see how they keep both of them. His play last year warranted at least $9 million, $10 million. So that's what he's going to get. He's going to get $10 million, and I feel like the Niners don't have it. They have $30 million in cap space, like $23 million has to go to Trent Williams. Maybe they can work it out that it's backloaded. It just seems going to be very, very difficult. Parag Marath is very clever. Maybe they can work it out, but I'm betting against them figuring this one out. I think Verrett's going to go to the Jets or whoever pays him the most money. The Jets.
So I'm on the side of saying that Jason Verrett, I wrote an article, here's a shameless plug, wrote an article on 49er Goldmine about why I think that Jason Verrett is the second most important re-signing. Like, it's Trent Williams, and it's not close, but the guy right under him is Verrett.
Agreed.
My thing is this, and this is a point that I made on Leo's show yesterday when I was on. Is last year's health the exception to the rule, or is that the new norm, right? So I'm a little weary of, it seems like this regime here is giving front-loaded contracts, right? Give you the money up front, and then every year we have an out, right? So here's the problem with the backloaded contract, I think, right? If you do a backloaded contract, and let's say it's for 3 years, let's say Jason Verrett has a devastating injury, knock on wood, season 1. But then season 2 and season 3, he's not playing, but you owe him that money. It's a tough pill to swallow when a guy's not out there on the field, and they're going to have to find a way to get it done. I understand completely Jason Verrett getting paid because there is going to be there's a considerable market for the services that he provided last year. Last year, his first 4 games, he allowed only single-digit receiving yards. Anything that was thrown in.
He's a stud. But here's the thing. You bring up really good points.
2 games over 60. He had 1 with 60 yards and 1 with 120, but that's the Bills game in which they were just taken to the shed. I'm not going to blame him for that. That was more the Bills were just in their bag, and the 49ers looked.
And Diggs is just better than him. Diggs is great. Yeah. There's no shame in that.
Right. And then at the end of the year, so week 1, DeAndre Hopkins, 14 catches, 150-something yards. Week 16, 4 for like 48 or 7 for 48. Erased.
That's like the main reason you want to bring him back because you have to face Hopkins twice a year, and that guy shut him down. So, yeah, but as you pointed out, he's got an alarming injury history. Basically, what he's done is play 14 games since missing 5 years. Not a lot. And, he turns 30 in July. So do you want to give a 3-year, $30 million contract to a 30-year-old corner who's missed this kind of time and honestly is probably, his body was falling apart. Odds are something else going to pop eventually. So, yeah, you'd have a team like the Niners who are short on cap space anyway. Maybe that's not a risk they can take, but it's a risk a team like with $70 million in cap space and isn't really expecting to contend right away could take. Maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm rooting for Verrett, man. Everything, it's funny. When I wrote the article first, I did all my research. And then when I started looking at his bad luck with injuries, it's insane. The man had a torn labrum and a torn rotator cuff, got that done. Comes back training camp, first day, tears his Achilles. The next year, torn ACL. Dude, to what he did being on the field last year was nothing short of a medical miracle, let alone be that effective. Like he lost some of his physical gifts, but you could see his football IQ on full display. Understanding route concepts, understanding when to break on the ball. Jason Verrett needs to be back next year, man. So let me pose you one more. Pose you another one. K1 Williams. I'm on board with in. I want him back on this roster. I do. But I don't think he will. I actually have him pegged going to the Jets.
Me too. I think a lot of these guys the Niners would love to have, but in every case, the Jets can outbid them. Oh, you want K'Wan Williams? We do too. K'Wan, here's an extra $1 million, an extra $2 million. Every time. Use check. Oh, you want use check back? I'm sure you'd like use check back, but we want him too, and we have more money. We have more money for K'Wan Williams. We can afford Jaquiski Tart. I think that Robert Saleh can bring whoever he wants with him, and the Niners are kind of just like, well, we'll take the leftovers. You let us know who you don't want, and we'll take that guy because we just can't afford to get in this bidding war with you.
Right. And I understand. Sometimes I see on Twitter when I put out the notion of K'Wan Williams is going back home because he is a Paterson, New Jersey native, and I'm telling you that if he goes back to his town, he literally lives 15 minutes from the MetLife facilities. I live 20 minutes away from there. That's how close we live to each other. Cool. Don't discount going home and playing in a system where you're going to be utilized and you understand the system. I understand you think that players want to win a ring. I don't know that every player wants to win a ring.
Who was K'Wan Williams before he started? Who was K'Wan Williams before he linked up with Robert Saleh?
Right.
A guy who had a decent season in Cleveland one time, and then they tried to run him out of town. I mean, on the Niners with Saleh, he's a playmaker. Saleh's like, you're my secret weapon. Everyone's looking at DeForest Buckner. Boom, you get the sack. I would want to work with him. Yeah. That guy's going to make me money.
I just want to dispel the notion that every player wants to win rings. Some guys just want to get paid and be comfortable. That's not on everybody's mind. That's not everybody doesn't want to win a ring in this league. Sorry to break the news to you guys. Some guys just want to get paid and go home. And I think that's what's going to happen.
Also, I think it's time that the Niners start taking fewer injury risks. They took a lot of injury risks the last few years for a lot of reasons. And I think they don't need to do it anymore. I think they need to be a little bit more conservative there. Good call, Vish. Enough. Sure. You can't complain about injuries when every year all your picks and your signings are dudes that have had like 8 surgeries. You can't.
Yep. And it's everybody, right? Quan, McKinnon, all these guys, right? You're just hoping that they play, that they're healthy, right? So you know what? I just see out. I would love for him to be here for all those reasons that you said, like the way he disguises his blitz and he still can get to the quarterback. The dude was carted off in week 16. Carted off.
He came back.
And he just ran back through the tunnel.
He pulled a Paul Pierce.
Dude.
Yeah.
Again,
he's great.
Play football. I don't know what else that needs to be said.
So in a totally unrelated topic, let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo.
Okay.
The Jets have Robert Saleh and the 49ers passing game coordinator, Mike LaFleur, has spent a lot of time with Jimmy Garoppolo. He has a winning record. He's expensive, but the Jets can afford him. I don't know if Niner fans have thought this through, but is there a possibility that the Jets might want Jimmy Garoppolo? What do you think?
There's a possibility. You know what it is, man? I think that if Saleh went over there in that interview and looked at the quarterback situation, right?
And said, I can't do this.
I'm going to try to bet on the 23-year-old, man, that I can get something out of him. And we just laid it out, right? Maybe you don't draft the quarterback this year. But next year, if your team is bad enough as we think they are, no matter how good Saleh is a coach, they're probably going to win 5 games, 6 games, which I would consider a huge success for a team that started 0-12 last year. So if they get 6 wins, you're still going to be right there in the top of the draft. So, I think that you take a chance on the unknown 23-year-old Darnold as opposed to the guy that you know. And then, the AFC East is a little bit easier now that the Patriots are, for now, on the downturn, right? This is the Bills division the Bills and Dolphins. All right, so wait, it's not as easy. You want Jimmy Garoppolo to go face Brian Flores and Bill Belichick and these defensive minds over there in the AFC East? I don't see that working out well. I'd rather stick with Darnold and see what you got. I think we know what Jimmy is.
I wouldn't want Jimmy if I were the Jets. To me, he doesn't look like he can defend himself on the football field anymore. You're almost counting on him to miss a few games a season. And then to me, even when he's healthy, I don't think he responds particularly well to adversity. I think he's basically a front runner. When the defense is working and the run game is working and they have a winning record, like he's really happy and smiling. But when they lose a game or when they're like a game under 500, all of a sudden, dude's like ghost. He's gone. And like, as you pointed out, like, look at all these dudes who fought to come back and play meaningless games this season. He didn't. And there's going to be a lot of meaningless games on the Jets the next couple of years. I don't think that's the kind of environment that he flourishes in. I think he needs to be on the best team in the league for him to feel confident and willing to play. I think what's going to happen if he goes to the Jets, he'll get knocked around a little bit and he'll be like, you know what? We're 2-6. Why am I out there? I'm going to save myself.
So I wanted to pull up. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I mean, that's what I was alluding to when I said
stay away from Jimmy Garoppolo, Robert.
So Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Darnold. Okay, today, yes. Whose ceiling is higher?
Who's more expensive?
That's the thing. So you're going to pay a guy $27 million when you already know what he is, and he's going to be above average at best. Sam Darnold has been brutal, but, Adam Gase, and he still has a higher ceiling than Jimmy Garoppolo, and he's so much cheaper. How can you bring in a $27 million guy when Darnold is still cost-controlled at this point? That's bad business. I don't care how much cap space you have. You're not allocating that money in a smart way. So I would not do that. No.
You don't understand, 15% of your cap, that's like a sixth of your cap. That is 1/6 of your cap on one player who's not even that good. How do you compete that? So I don't care. It's not about, in the NFL, it's not about who's better than who. It's kind of like, that game on Twitter where they're like, all right, you can construct your ideal basketball team. Here's the $5 line. Here's the $4 line. Like Jimmy Garoppolo is in the $5 line and he's not good. That's the problem. Give me the dude in the $2 line. I don't care if he's better than Jimmy Garoppolo. He's in the $2 line. I can build a better team that way. That's the point.
Jose, I don't think his career is over. I'm not going to say his career is over. I just think we know what he is at this point, and the book is out. There's no more, there's no more in this system, second year, none of that. I think we just know what he is, and what if the ceiling was 2019? What if that was the ceiling? That was the absolute ceiling. I don't know. All I know is for a guy who's missed 23 games since he's been here, $27 million seems sunk into a lost investment at this point.
He's not durable. When he's on the field, he's heavy-footed. When the pocket breaks down, he's like a chicken with his head cut off. The defining moment of his season was the pirouette against Arizona. That looked like a guy who looked afraid to get hurt. Like, I'm going to get hurt. I don't know what to do. I'm now in self-preservation mode. Forget looking down the field. Looking like graceful on a football field. Like, I'm looking for an exit route. That was bad. To me, was a very bad play.
Yeah, and that's the game that I always point to because everybody said, oh, he was injured. Well, he wasn't injured week one. He missed a lot of throws, including the game-winning throw.
It was terrible in that game.
Yes, he misreads. It's not – this isn't opinions. This isn't, oh, we're bashing him. When you look at the film, black and white, it's all there for you.
And then when he came back and was like, not 100%, but still on the field, like quarterbacks play through injuries, he was terrible. He's non-functional unless he's 100% healthy. Non-functional.
No.
Quarterbacks usually play through things. Ben Roethlisberger plays through something every year.
Matthew Stafford came out week 17 with his arm hanging off the bone and threw 3 touchdowns. Don't tell me that guys don't play football. Play football.
It's not tennis, Jimmy. Right. It's not like everything has to be going great and you got to feel really great that day. Like they're paying you to be a warrior and be a soldier and to strap it up and go.
This isn't a valid excuse for me. Okay? Who were his receivers? Dante Pettis was open that entire game. All you have to do is throw the ball to him. I know the kid
was open in the end zone for the win. That was on Jimmy. I don't know.
Let's just end it with this. We know what Jimmy is. There's no more room for growth, I don't think, in this offense. I think we've seen it. That's it. For $27 million and 23 missed games, for you to be saying he's still technically a rookie at 29 or 30, he is what he is at this point. That's it. Let's move on. No more Jimmy Garoppolo.
Here's the thing. If he would agree to a massive pay cut, if he would agree to like $12 million next year, hey, absolutely.
But if you're Jimmy Garoppolo, why do you do that?
You don't.
I don't. I wouldn't. No. If you come to me, I don't care how bad I played. We need you to take a pay cut. Nope. No. I'm keeping all of that money. What are you talking about?
No, it's like, if you want me to take a pay cut, okay, fine. Just convert my base salary to signing bonus. I'll take the money a different way. And now I have long-term security because there's dead cap if you cut me. Do that. Yeah. I'm not going to give you money back. And then if the Niners are like, oh, we're going to cut you and let the market decide, and we'll give you a competitive offer, he might just, to spite him, be like, all right, well, I'm not going to resign. I'll go anywhere but here. I don't care. That could happen. So,
right. One more thing. Back to in and out. That was a good discussion. I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because I kind of had that on my chest, like I wanted to say.
Let's do it. Yeah. Let's say it.
So, in or out, Ahkello Witherspoon.
I think he's in if he wants to be. I'm sure they'll give him an offer, and I'm sure they'll have space for him. But I kind of get the feeling that that's another guy who would like to leave. I think he feels like he was wrongly placed in the doghouse and then vindicated himself in ways that Dante Pettis never did, and now would like to go stick it to the Niners again. That's the vibe I get, and I base that on nothing.
You know what? That's an amazing point, and that's the point that I made yesterday on Leo's show as well, too, right? Guys go into the doghouse and they never come out. Ahkello Witherspoon was in there, healthy scratch, benched, but when his number was called again, he completely got out of there, and he played his best ball his entire time that he's been here, including 2019, and I'll explain, right? Look, you want to kill him for that Lockett touchdown. Do you understand that play design on the crosser is so hard to guard? And then when you put the effect that it's Lockett to Wilson, it's in there. Like, that's not Ahkello Witherspoon. But
it's basically a race that the other guy has a head start. If you think about the angle, you're running from behind him. It's very hard.
Right.
Very hard. You got to get hands on him pretty much. If you don't get hands on him, you're dead right away.
That was good play design. That was the perfect play to call right there. That was it. That's just tip your cap, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the interception that he made in Arizona, he bossed up and he played man all over the place. And he knocks the pass down from DK Metcalf, gets up, and he's like, look, that's a guy who's playing with confidence, right?
So, he actually shut down DK in that game, you got to say.
Yes, but nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody wants to go back to the narratives of how he played. You cannot allow pass play to cloud your judgment with what's in front of you right now. If a guy struggled at a certain portion of the year, do not take that thought process in evaluating the way that he's been playing recently. The last 4 games of the season, Ahkello Witherspoon was pushing Jason Verrett as the best cornerback on this roster, and we can argue about that. Verrett's probably better, but Spoon wasn't far behind him with the way that he was playing.
And here's the thing, like what Spoon did against Metcalf, Verrett couldn't have done because Verrett's not big enough. Right. That's a matchup that only Spoon could have hit. Now, Verrett did great against Hopkins, but DK Metcalf is 6'.
You still there, Grant? Or is that me? Oop, I think we lost Grant.
Am I? Sorry, what happened? Am I here?
No, you're good. I got you.
All right, I don't know what happened. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like as great as Verrett is, he has limitations. He's 5'9". He can't match up with DK Metcalf. Witherspoon didn't. Someone, Vish says, I don't think Witherspoon is going to the Jets. I don't have any inside information, but I do know from talking to Robert Saleh, at the facility any number of times that he loves Ahkello Witherspoon. And I get the feeling he never lost confidence in him. He always, his thing was always like, hey man, cornerback's a really finicky position. These guys, they can lose confidence, they can gain confidence. It's kind of finicky. He believes in Ahkello. And I think now that I think about it, he might make a stronger run to bring Ahkello in for like $4 million than 30-year-old Jason Verrett for 11. I'm saying it could be like that.
Yeah. So I'll throw out a name, somebody that would like to get their hands on him and is a big fan of him. Joe Woods. Why wouldn't Cleveland go to get him over there? They have the pass rushers. You line them up against Denzel Ward. They got Greedy Williams. You have guys. Look, Denzel Ward's been hurt. Greedy hasn't.
He's probably better than Greedy or just as good.
Right. So yeah. I don't. I could see Joe Woods saying, "Let me get my hands back on this kid. We'll fix him." And
they wanted Brian Allen. So maybe they'd want Ahkello. If they have if Brian Allen's on their roster, they got to have a space for Ahkello.
So, I mean, I actually want Spoon back. I would love to see him play again, on this team. I want to see him develop because I think that his potential far exceeds, his floor might be lower because when he's in the basement with his mind, he's just like, he's out of it. But I think what I saw him taking a step forward as far as getting out of the doghouse shows me that the guy's built mentally different.
Well, one thing I want to say is I think what happened was he went in the doghouse because of last year. And then when he got a shot this year, he was good. Well, what changed? I think he's not as good in zone coverage. I think in zone coverage, you have to be, I don't know what, you got to be smart. You got to be, I'm not saying he's not smart because he is smart, right. But you have to react in a different way on the football field. You got to read things. When you're in man-to-man coverage, you just get to be an athlete.
Yep.
It's like, oh, you think you're quicker than me? You think you're faster than me? Let's see. Like, try to run away from me. I'm going to be right on you. And that's, to me, what he does really well. It's what he did at Colorado. He had his back to the quarterback all the time at Colorado. That's why he led the nation in pass breakups and didn't have picks because he had his arm up with his back to the quarterback. He's good at that. You put eyes on the quarterback and he loses the receiver and he covers grass. So I don't know.
Yeah. I like that call. I want Spoon back. I'm going to say in, but it wouldn't shock me if he goes somewhere else. And I really believe that place would be Joe Woods if it's not Saleh.
Any team that plays man-to-man coverage would be smart to take a flyer on him because he's cheap and big and fast and everything you want. Mm-hmm. And you know what? The big knock on him early in his career was that he was afraid of contact. He's one of the better tacklers among the corners now on the team. He hits hard.
Yeah.
He knocks people back.
Absolutely. All right, I got a comment that I'm going to pull up for you because I know you like this idea. What up, Grant? What up, Jason? Jimmy sucks. Traded back in draft trash. Look at it's Grant.
It's going down.
All my lives. It is going down. Wow.
No, as I'm saying though, the more I think about it, the more I feel like Shanahan's never going to go where he needs to go until he gets that 35-year-old quarterback. And it's not exciting from a fan's perspective because you want the young guy who develops into the Patrick Mahomes. But you know what? I think Shanahan could win a Super Bowl with a Hall of Fame quarterback who's a little over the hill and just a little under market value. I mean, look what LaFleur's doing with Aaron Rodgers. I think Shanahan's a better coach than LaFleur. And if you look what he did with Matt Ryan. If you give him a Matt Ryan level quarterback, I think he could do it. But we'll see. I don't know if he's ever going to get that guy. I think he's thought Kirk Cousins was that guy. And maybe Kirk Cousins is. He's never going to get Kirk Cousins. It's not going to happen.
No,
but there's other guys. Like it could be Big Ben this offseason. It could be Rivers. I just feel like Rivers is going to look at this offensive line and be like,
not Ben.
No
Ben.
And Ben is done. Ben looks like he's 40, like he's 50. But you know what I'm saying? Basically that kind of guy. And I don't know who it is this year, but that's what he needs.
Look, my thing is this, and this is the thing that I've been pounding the table about. If the 49ers would have had a 10 to 15% increase in quarterback play, they're probably playing this weekend.
I just don't understand why they passed on Tom Brady. I just don't get it, man. Because it's like, Kyle, you told everyone you didn't like Jimmy. 8 passes in the NFC Championship game. We agree with you. We would have done the same thing. We don't like Jimmy either. And then you passed on Tom Brady? Dude, that doesn't make sense, man. That doesn't make sense.
If Tom Brady's here, this team is probably playing this weekend.
Yeah, and you're not committed to him long term. It's a 2-year deal. You can move on. Like, I'll never understand that one. I kind of understand not drafting Mahomes. They weren't the only team that passed on Mahomes, and he's a draft prospect. Tom Brady, dude. What did you think? You really thought Jimmy was better than him? No, you didn't. You know you didn't think Jimmy was better than him. You just balked. That's it.
So the buzz around that deal for me that I heard, right? And you can dispel this if you know more than I do, but this is what I've heard. The deal was done for Brady. The problem is that Brady's 42 and does not want to restructure his deal. He had never taken a bag his entire career with New England because he wanted to be team first and win. So you're not going to ask a guy who's going to play maybe 2 or 3 more years, hey, restructure your contract. Brady was fully committed to getting his money. He wanted to come here. They had it done. They would have sent him right. They would have sent Jimmy right back. But without that restructured money, the deal falls through and you're ended. So I wouldn't say that this front office said, we don't want Brady, because they openly, and this isn't my opinion, openly told you that they talked about it.
The rumor that I heard, and it's just a rumor, I haven't written it because I haven't confirmed it, but it fell apart over like $9 million.
Oh. All right, so his first 2 contracts, he got paid the full 9. But what is he making now, right?
All I'm saying is what I heard is it basically fell apart over $9 million. $9 million. I don't know. Is that enough to say no? Maybe he's too much. I am a proponent of not paying quarterbacks too much, but you know what? It's Tom Brady, man. It's the greatest quarterback of his generation. He has won Super Bowls making 12% of his cap. He's done it. So I just don't understand.
44 touchdowns this year.
Now, again, it's very difficult to compete in free agency with the tax-free states, because if they make Tom Brady an offer in Tampa, then the Niners have to basically make like a 20% higher offer because of California state taxes or whatever it is, 15% higher. It's difficult, but sorry. I'm sorry. Jimmy's expensive too, man. Like, what did you do there? Yeah. What did you do?
Right.
And Rivers was available. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know. Look, I get what you're saying, right? You know, I understand people saying that they don't want Phillip Rivers because the guy can't move, but man, he played his ass off this year.
Neither can Jimmy. Neither can Jimmy, man. At least
one is a 40-year-old guy. One's a 40-year-old guy who's chasing around kids all day, you know, so you could tell that his body's all messed up, you know, one's 29, right? But hey, look, Grant, thank you for jumping on, man. I appreciate you. This discussion was great. I know that everybody was, happy to see you on here, man. You know, you're my guy, and I'm happy that we were able to talk, man.
Absolutely. We'll do it on my channel next time, man. We'll go back.
Woo! I love it, man. Grant, let everybody know like what you got going on, where they can subscribe to your stuff, just in case anybody who doesn't know.
I'm the publisher of All 49ers SI, so check me out on si.com/NFL/49ers. Subscribe to me on YouTube, and congratulations to Jason and Leo and Javi and Matt and Marco, who have just rolled out the new 49ers gold mine. It's phenomenal. Make sure you subscribe to it, read it every day. It's terrific. These guys are coming up, so it's cool to see. Good job.
Appreciate you, Grant. And I put it out on Twitter yesterday, but like I'm still stoked about it. Like I woke up this morning and I couldn't believe it. I will be able to see your guy Kyle Trask in the flesh at the Senior Bowl. So I will be taking notes because I did get my press pass. So I am doing that.
Are you going to bring the gun and tell me what his velocity is?
What his velocity is and everything. I just have to figure out the
COVID protocol. I want revolutions per second. Revolutions per second.
I just want to see. I want to see him, on the field, and I want to get a chance to play. Like this is, like, dude, for a guy who, I hate to keep harping on it, right? Where the bloggers and everything, we got a press pass to the Senior Bowl, man. So
I'm so proud of you guys because I feel like it's a very exclusive club being a sports writer. And you see how a lot of these beat writers are like, they don't want to bring people into their club. It's like they get their $60,000 a year plus benefits and they don't want anyone else in there. So what you got to do is kind of make a lane for yourself. It's what I do. And it's what you guys are doing. And it's very empowering to see a new generation of opinionated sports journalists come up and take over the industry that wasn't going to open the door for them. I think it's really, really cool. So I'm rooting for you guys. This is great.
I appreciate you.
All journalists coming up.
We appreciate you, Grant, man, and you showed me the way with YouTube and everything as well too, man. I we're trying to do things on the cutting edge of what's happening. So you're either on the cutting edge or you're on the chopping block.
And you're on the cutting edge, and it's cool to see. So I'm glad. Everyone should be rooting for 49ers gold mine. Really.
You're the man, Grant. I love you, buddy. But yeah, thank you for everybody in tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Show.